We're live. Welcome everybody to the QSC DJ discussion. We've got a great team here to talk to you about all things DJ during these crazy times. We've got Kristin from our DJ Rocks in Florida.
What's up?
And DJ Keelez over here. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking your time to do another DJ discussion for QSC. How's everyone doing?
Great. Minus computer problems. I'm doing great.
We all deal with that at the oddest moments, right? Like everything's going really good for a long time, and then there's just one little weird thing that happens.
Quarantine is tech hell.
Right? Yeah, it is. Anything new lately? Any new activities that you've done? Any new hobbies within the last couple of weeks since we last talked?
So I was gonna pop on, and what I really wanted to say was no, nothing's changed. I'm still stuck where I'm supposed to be. But no,
outside of the DJ business.
Yeah. But no, I thought about it, and I'm actually working on my personal brand a lot more lately, as kind of like, a speaker and an educator. So that's been kind of exciting outside of the DJ world, just to kind of get my mind off of it. So just working on creative stuff like the logo, the website, things like that. And then I found a newfound joy in sitting in my front yard and outside my garage and having karaoke sessions with my husband. So that's been fun when I get home from the office, so to speak.
Go outside into the driveway.
Yes.
Oh, how about you, Ninja?
Just, going for walks, and we caught the bioluminescence the
other day.
Out of the house to go see all that.
I saw that on your circle. It was huge. The bioluminescence, for people that don't know. Can you tell them what that is?
Oh yeah, it's basically algae that's like reproducing right now that doesn't usually make it this far north up the coast from San Diego. They usually get it down in San Diego, but somehow maybe it's because we're all staying home. I don't know. It's like being less shy, but it's made its way down to like Southern California, and it's kind of hit or miss. But what happens is when the algae they're called algae blooms, and I think that's like when there's like a surplus of this algae because it's reproducing. When it gets agitated by like the motion of the waves, like when the wave is cresting, it illuminates like like neon blue.
Oh,
it looks like someone's put like an uplight like underneath the ocean. It's absolutely like the coolest thing I've seen. I've seen the Northern Lights. That was a little cooler, but this was like up there with that for sure.
Dude, I feel like I've seen that on the news somewhere, and I've always want to see it. Can you please like Instagram live that?
I'm having trouble hearing anyone except for Tessa for some reason. So I'm gonna sign out. Is it okay if I come back in a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. We'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
How about you, Keelez? Any new hobbies, interests?
Yeah, well, good segue.
Outside.
Yeah, no, sorry. That's a good segue from Ninja. I've been trying to dabble into figuring virtual stuff out, technology, and it's tricky little beast, and it's just one of those things I've been trying to like tackle and figure out. And just like I was mentioning before, dealing with OBS and all the cool stuff the kids are doing nowadays that I got to figure out.
It's so funny how it's kind of, you would think a hobby is separated from your career, but it's all intertwined, which is real neat.
Absolutely.
Have you guys started any new projects or collaborations within the last couple of weeks since we last talked?
I think kind of like what she was saying, I've been just trying to figure out this, OBS and kind of production thing. I feel like, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, right? I shall say the areas we could improve on. Mm-hmm. And I definitely feel like for me, my kind of area of weakness is production on any level at all. I'm like, get it ready to go, and I can rock once the stage is set. Mm-hmm. But just kind of figuring out this behind the scenes stuff, even the stuff, that we're working on now. If your mic doesn't work, what's, number 1, 2, 3 kind of options to go after that. But on this side of things, not on like if my microphone doesn't work live and I'm on a Pioneer, that stuff is easy. But this has kind of forced all of us, I think, really to learn stuff that we've never had to do before. You know what I mean? So
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you've been doing other collaborations. I saw you did like so many people that you were DJing with last Saturday.
Yeah. So that was the DJ Throwdown. That was fun. I can't even believe I was on that flyer. So super honored. Shout out to all the guys who let me be a part of that. But yeah, that definitely has been different too, because, you know, it's one thing to DJ in front of an audience and, you know, you've got a wedding or a crowd or whatever, but DJing, I mean, in your house from a studio is so different. It's almost like, instead of just DJing, focusing on music and maybe emceeing a little bit, you're really kind of everything. You're the production manager. You're like, let me make sure my camera is set. Is the lighting right? Am I live? Am I hardwired? Because you can't, you know, be on Wi-Fi. So it really is kind of, it's unique in a way. It challenges me, which I love it because it keeps me on my toes, but it's definitely different.
Yeah, pivoting and adapting have definitely been the words of 2020 for all of us. How about you, BB? I saw on Instagram that you're doing this like huge collaboration with a bunch of other vendors.
Yeah, we're trying to, I think micro weddings is the term they're using, which is, I guess, AKA elopements, but they're calling them micro weddings now. Is what I hear is going to start becoming a lot more popular with couples for the next few months as they, you know, we transition back into some sort of normalcy after all this. So a group of Los Angeles vendors came together to create like little packages that can accommodate smaller groups of people, like 10, 15, 25 kind of groups. And, you know, as it gradually becomes allowed and the restrictions get lifted here in California, we'll expand that as needed. But yeah, it's just a collaboration of vendors who are ready and willing the moment we kind of have permission to kind of get out there and ease on in and do things. So it should be cool. And actually, I am working on a second collaboration of something similar, but with a little more of a virtual element to it. So it's going to be like a mini elopement, but, you know, with options that they can kind of do other things as well if they want to bring in more entertainment or more family members or anything like that, but just working collaboratively with a bunch of different people to make that happen as smooth as possible.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. I feel like we're all collaborating now. We're even just with our colleagues in a way that we had never done before. For me, with some of my colleagues, you know, just being on standby during their test Instagram live on their burner account to make sure that their audio is good before we go live. What kinds of things have you been doing to help your colleagues, or what have they needed help with, you know, that you were able to maybe assist a little bit?
That's a good question. I think for me, well, if I could just kind of piggyback on what I already said, my DJ friends and colleagues have definitely helped me with the production side of things and figuring out, okay, Kristin, you have to go live, like deal with it, you know? And I think on the reciprocal side of that, I've really been just trying to help in any way I can with streamlining their businesses, whether that be operational things, processes in, you know, DJ event planner, marketing things or processes or projects, and sales stuff. And I think also too, I've gotten a lot of people reach out about, you know, I guess you would say verbiage. So I want to call it the PR side of things and kind of delicately taking care of either clients or situations and how to, you know, get out of negative situations. So I guess you would call that, you know, the PR side of things.
Yeah, which is super important now when you're dealing with everything we're dealing with, postponements and cancellations and everything like that. You have to tread lightly when it comes to that. And I'm actually on the opposite ends of things. I'm getting a lot of people questioning and asking me when I'm going to stream, and I have yet to even live stream yet, because I think I tapped on that before, that getting kicked off is so frustrating, but also getting the proper sound is something I'm a super stickler for. So it's like, if I can't just get it just right, I'm not necessarily going to kind of do it. So I was going to try to do something tonight on YouTube Live, but I kind of chickened out because my sound was not quite perfect. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure it out first and then get on there. Because again, it's like, it's what works one day, the next day you plug in the exact same thing and it's not working the same way. And I think that's going to be the real hurdle for us when it comes to figuring this whole thing out, is figuring out the best way to seamlessly, excuse me, you know, get things as similar as we can to a live event. I mean, when you do a live event, you do have stuff that goes wrong, but I think when it comes to virtually speaking, you have a bigger window for something to go wrong, because whether it's, you know, something going out during an important, you know, speech, or, you know, your sound not sounding good, or, you know, even, you know, you forgetting to tweak a certain setting a certain way, like everything has to be just so much more methodical. So it's going to be a matter, I think, of all of us just being super used to, just like you said, doing test runs and figuring stuff out and really make it, especially when you have a product that you're selling. I think we're going to have to figure that part out, which is where I'm at. So the whole live streaming thing, I don't know if I said it before, I can't handle that pressure. So I'm trying. I promise you guys one day I will.
Well, we will be there to support you. But on a side question I have for you guys, and I don't know if you've experienced it yet, but I've heard people talk about it, about being able to connect their direct audio interfaces to Instagram Live, but then it's not working in Zoom or another platform. Have you guys experienced things like that, where you just had to kind of figure out what that little, oh, here, she's back, what that little quirk was or anything?
Bro, I feel like,
is this better?
Oh,
yay!
yes.
I had to try 3 different laptops.
Oh, it's awesome.
You came in actually on a good question, because I was just asking, and I had heard from other people that they were trying to connect their direct audio, and they would be okay on Instagram Live, but it wouldn't be the same for Zoom or a different platform. So there would be little things that they had to change in between different platforms. Have you experienced things like that?
Oh yeah, everything's totally different depending on what platform you're broadcasting on. So like for Zoom, and let's say I wanted to do a live set even here on StreamYard, you have to be able to use a virtual cam that basically turns your OBS output into a virtual camera in your computer that then broadcasts straight from OBS into Zoom. So, you know, like otherwise, I mean, before I figured that out, I actually had to use like a third computer and then mirror my screen on the third computer. And the sound quality was like good, but not great. But when I found the OBS virtual cam and I was able to like figure out how to install that properly, it all broadcasted into Zoom like perfectly.
Oh, that's good to know. We'll take a note on that. Oh,
Yeah.
I was asking them earlier too, you didn't have a chance to answer this question. We're in a world now where we're so helpful with each other, with other DJs, with other DJ colleagues. It's never been like that before. What are some things that you've helped your DJ colleagues, DJ friends with during this time?
Me specifically, or is this around?
They are.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm Indian and like it's a stereotype or what, but I'm like the IT department. So everyone calls me with their IT questions. I have never heard from so many DJs like so frequently. It's ridiculous, but I'm always happy to help when I have time. But I mean, everything from like, how do you set up OBS to how do you share it to multiple platforms to how do you get the sound quality to come out so clean? You know, like, I mean, everything you can imagine, DJs are trying to figure it all out right now. And when I figured it out, I did have like one friend that, you know, like, cause I'm, like I mentioned last time, I'm a gamer. So I have some gamer friends that broadcast, and I was talking to him, but for the most part, to actually like get everything really dialed in, it was a lot of like hunting on like Google and YouTube and trial and error and like, you know, certain, just having like absolute technical meltdowns while I'm live streaming and then figuring out how to avoid that next time.
At the same time?
Having to smile so no one realizes that you're like in tech hell while you're live streaming. So that has like, one thing I really do want to empower people to do is do your research. You know, don't just like lean on other people all the time to like get you through, because when you do come to a point where you have like a tech problem, if you don't really understand what you're doing because you didn't do the research, you're going to have an absolute meltdown and you're not going to know how to troubleshoot. So the best thing you can do is dig in YouTube and like actually watch these videos and learn the intricacies of what you are doing when you're broadcasting and how the tools work. Because I can only tell you so much, but the second you have a problem, you're not going to know how to troubleshoot, and I'm going to be of no use to anyone at that point. So that's really my 2 cents. Empower yourself to like go do the research and get into it. If it's something you're interested in and it's something you're passionate about, like why not dive deeper and like get to really know the tools that you're now going to be probably using for the next 3 months, you know, depending on what state you're in. it's probably a good idea to get really like deep into it.
Well, I think this live stream stuff is really going to be our new normal for a long time. Like more than the next 2021.
Sure. Yeah. These industries, like with social distancing, I think that's going to carry on until like we have a vaccine or whatever, which kind of doesn't work out so well for the nightclub industry. But, private events, I think they'll be able to get creative and like maybe space us out a little bit more. So I think all of us that do corporate events, we'll see it start to come back, maybe not like to the level it was before. But I think a lot of corporates are maybe going to want to have people live stream instead of being there physically. They're going to want to do live stream events at some point, so the sooner you can get on board with the tools and, like really become an expert in what it takes to do a live stream, the more marketable you're going to be later, because you don't want to face a corporate client and then have like a tech issue and not know what to do about it. That is like when you're doing a live stream for fun and there's a problem, that's fine.
Yeah.
But when you're doing a corporate event and there's like CEOs looking at you, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing.
And it's so tough because it's going to happen to somebody, right?
It's totally going to happen.
Cringe. Side note to all our viewers, just make sure to pop some questions in the comments and we can get to those when we can. Actually, we do have a question from Amani. What's your favorite platform to stream on for each of you?
Dang, that's a good question because we actually got shut down on, was it last Saturday for the Throwdown? So we were streaming it to a page and for all 4 hours, it worked fine on Facebook. And then it was like 24 hours later, we got a text message from Dawson High, who that's the page we were streaming it to. And he's like, Facebook shut my page down. I can't get on. And so, I think it was last week or the week before we were talking about like, people were asking us, how do we make sure we don't get shut down? And I think that we're at the point now where it's been how many days into this? And I think at this point, there really is only one option and it's Twitch. I think that I'm still seeing people do Instagram and that's fine. But I think the way, Miss Ninja was explaining it 2 weeks ago, it was, you can stream on Twitch and then save it and then maybe upload clips to your actual feed. But I think we're getting to the point now where you kind of have one option because people are kind of catching on, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't think it's worth the possibility of my entire page, all that content and all those reviews being shut down to even risk it anymore.
Yeah. Facebook is out for live streaming.
Facebook is out. And I don't have enough experience with Instagram to kind of know that piece. So, maybe you guys can speak on that platform. But if I do live DJing, it will most likely end up being on Twitch.
Yeah, I've done very minimal live streaming, but I did have a corporate client where I went into their Instagram account and I had to do so many copyright tests prior on a burner account to make sure I was going to survive the 30 minutes. And it was so much to think about because it was one verse quick mix, pitch it up, do a sound effect over it. Luckily, it was for a dog food store. And so I could do like barking noises and squeaking noises to really throw the analytics off. And then talking, making announcements. So it was just so much and mixing at the same time, just way too much multitasking. So
I don't know. I think we even might have caught on to our pitching and our quick mixing too, guys, because I went back and I watched the Throwdown and every single one of us who DJ'd, we were doing all the things. We were talking, we were quick mixing, we were pitching and and again, we never got shut down for the 4 hours. It was just afterwards, they took his page down. So, maybe it's not that, but I think that when you do get in situations where, let's say you are streaming through Zoom, to get to Facebook or wherever, we're going to have to let our clients know, especially if it's a paid event, like you are running the risk of a copyright issue and they could shut your page down. So we might have to get to the point where the next conversation we're going to be forced into, private parties, right? And virtual private parties through Zoom where you're hosting up to 100 people, or I don't know the rules on this quite yet, But if we do stream on Facebook, maybe it has to be in a specific and private group. Maybe it can't just be broadcasted on a page. I don't know, something to think about for sure.
Now, how about you, Ninja? Favorite platforms to stream on?
Yeah, definitely Twitch, because I feel like I get so nervous when I have to DJ on Instagram Live or on Facebook, because I'm always aware that the IG police are there. And like last night I did a set where they kicked me off like 6 minutes in, and then I had to like rejoin the set, and the entire like everyone said it sounded great, but like I felt so off after that. It threw off my vibe. I was like trying to mash tracks together that like maybe I wouldn't have like actually done that way if it was like a set that I was doing on Twitch, where I could just, do what I do. It's, I think I have to sacrifice a lot as a DJ and an artist when I'm on these other platforms like Facebook and Instagram, just to try to avoid the copyright police, who I think, by the way, I think they're getting crazier from my experience. Like I was able to do a full like 2-hour old school hip hop R&B set like a week and a half ago. Got kicked off maybe once in 2 hours. And then yesterday I got kicked off a couple times within 1 hour. And I was playing like more obscure hip hop, stuff that wouldn't typically be copyright flagged and things like that. But it just mentally, it messed with me and threw me off. And then also I just think it's, I don't know, I'm of two minds on this, because I know most of my following and most of my clients' followings are on Instagram, so we do want to like get the draw from there, from going on IG Live. So my preferred platform would be IG Live if I could figure out a way to work around the copyright infringement stuff. For ease of use and for playability, it's going to be Twitch. But some tips just for if you are going to do Instagram Live, this is one of those situations where you really do need to pre-plan your set before you just like go up there and spin, because you want to really think about, is this track going to be something that's like on a really like high profile record label? Because those are typically the ones that you'll get flagged for. Like if I play Madonna or if I play Whitney, yeah, I'm totally going to get kicked off. But like if I play KRS-One, that's probably not going to set off any red flags. So if you can like really just take the time beforehand and really, like Tessa was saying, curate your set so it won't set off any red flags, you can have a great time on Instagram Live. But if you really
on their account ahead of time.
Yeah. Everyone should have a burner IG.
That's the tip of the day for all you viewers. Get a burner IG and test your set ahead of time.
100% could not agree more with that. But like, if you want to just have like ultimate freedom, and you are looking to grow your fan base in maybe an area that doesn't know you yet, Twitch is a great opportunity to like get some new eyeballs on you. Sorry, long answer.
You gotta be real consistent on Twitch. Keelez, I know you're not live streaming yet, but which platforms are you looking forward to streaming on when you get there?
Yeah. Well, I've dabbled in the live streaming. So IG definitely was the one that I got kicked out. I think I was 3-4 songs in every single time I got, because I'm super open format, but also very, I'm not ashamed to say I'm very mainstream, top 40 in my own personal music taste. So sometimes, you know what I mean, coming out the gate, I think it was Sean Paul that got me kicked off. I'm like, come on, who knew?
Oh, I didn't and I survived.
Oh yeah, that's your, yeah. I forget which one it was for you, but that's one, yeah. But you never know what can do. So I have kind of steered clear of that. But I have heard, this is word on the street, and I did some test runs with actually not having any issues. YouTube Live won't cut you off midstream. They might ding you towards the end, but YouTube Live won't cut you off. That they will just kind of send you a message and warn you. They maybe, I don't know if they mute you, but I don't think they do. Somebody was telling me that they don't really mute you more than they just kind of warn you, like gentle nudges until you do it too much, and then it might be an issue, but you can always appeal and everything like that. But that's where I'm leaning towards figuring out, but I just want to figure out to have a cleaner feed and everything like that is really what I'm tweaking the most when it comes to there. And in terms of, incorporating live events with clients, just like you guys were saying, yeah, that's definitely a scary thing. But I think definitely YouTube live and Zoom integration is going to be key with that, because, you know, if for any reason you do get kicked off of YouTube, you're always going to have that Zoom that people can go back to. And then you have the ability to expand the amount of people who can go to that Zoom room. So you can have the option for people to have a place to revert back to if you do get interrupted. But I think that YouTube Live is probably where I'm putting my money on. So that's where I'm going to start to do my experimentation in the next few weeks. I'm just working on trying to get my graphic game up and everything like that. But you weren't here, Ninja, but I was saying, I was trying to do OBS and I almost threw my computer. I had a mental breakdown. I was just like, yeah.
I'm the IT department, call me.
I know, you should see me. You know, Shorty, I was texting Shorty. I was like, I need therapy. I don't know what's happening, but I can't. My heart, it was like a whole thing. She had to calm me down. She was like talking me off the ledge.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't think people realize, like, I say it every time we have one of these discussions. I can't even talk half the time. I'm like so brain fried. There's so much going on behind the scenes, and there's so much extra stuff you have to do to put one of these live streams on. And it's so, like, one thing I really did want to touch on is, like, I see a lot of DJs like hating on a lot of others. But I think if you do put in if you see a DJ that is like putting in the work and like is really like trying, and they maybe have a tech issue, which luckily no one has been like mean to me about any of that. Whenever I have tech issues, they're like right there with me. They're like, oh my God, I totally feel you. You know, I think, I think it's really good that, like, I think if you've been through it, you're more understanding of it. And then the people that haven't been through it, they're going to be a little more critical because they don't know how much it entails. So again, like, if you are thinking about live streaming, BB, especially, like, don't worry about getting your graphic game up. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just make sure your sound quality is good, because if you have crappy sound, like, that is the one thing that I'll be like, well, maybe, you know, you should have worked that out a little sooner.
Exactly.
Well, that's an easy fix. You know,
yours is an easy
there's
fix.
no excuse for it. But even with the iRig, I love the iRig. It sounds great, but there's that 10-second delay, you know? So you can't really have a conversation with somebody. You can't bring two people in on Instagram Live while having your iRig in, things like that.
Yeah,
but
I use the external audio card, like, plugged into Zoom. So,
there's like,
and that, like, really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like really, really it's even cleaner than the iRig. The sound is like crystal clear. And on top of that, there is no delay. So depending, again, what platform you're broadcasting on, I only use iRig if I'm on IG Live. Everything else, I use my sound card into OBS. But yeah, BB, call me and we'll get you live streaming like tomorrow.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that.
There's a QSC question here. Have any of you explored independent unsigned music on platforms like SoundCloud to use in your live streams? And I
mean, through the record pools,
I would love to do find independent artists on SoundCloud. That would be more of a curated selector set for me. But if I'm doing something that's more mainstream, they may not know those songs. And I feel like people, well, it's your job as a DJ to introduce new music to people, but there's a way that you have to do that. Like, you have to play, the way I do it is I'll play more popular songs, and then I'll throw in that song that they may not know, so they can hear it and discover it and enjoy it, and then go back into the other pop music or whatever, familiar music. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? Independent artist from SoundCloud.
Yeah, you know, my brother-in-law, he's a house music DJ. He's the vice president of Ultra Records, so he's very much into, like, you know, that kind of stuff. But he does house music and like really obscure things. And he did a set recently, and he was on Facebook, and he made it pretty much the whole way, and still managed to get a song that I would have not thought would have. I don't know if it was that song or maybe the one he played before, but he still managed to get knocked off, even with some. I mean, granted, I'm sure that they were probably songs that were on labels of some sort,
or maybe it used a sample from a really popular song.
Yeah,
that's happened.
So, yeah, exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Even that was what it was. But I have not yet to dabble in that. But I would assume if it's on SoundCloud and it doesn't have a record label behind it and it's an independent artist, there would be no way you'd have copyright infringement. So I would think theoretically that would be one workaround, but it would take time to curate, definitely, like you were saying, Tessa, to curate that and find music that you're going to capture people's attention with. I mean, you're going to have to find some like bangers that people are going to be like, oh, what's this? You know what I mean? Because sometimes
there's something out there. I know there's actually a lot of it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, not only that though, but like the sound quality when you do download off of SoundCloud isn't the sound quality like that. It's not like the bits that we're used to as DJs. I'm used to like really high quality sound, unless like the artist has put their music up specifically for download. If you're like getting a bootleg rip, it's not going to sound good. So
Actually, have any of you that have used Serato used the SoundCloud integration that they have? Because they have SoundCloud or Tidal.
Not yet. Yeah.
SoundCloud.
I haven't used that one yet.
No.
That'll be for the next conversation. That'll be our homework.
But I will say, like, I mean, I do a monthly mix for my MP3 pool, and a lot of times I will use like the sets that I do for them. If I broadcast those when I do my house sets, they actually do a really good job about finding house artists that aren't signed, and it's like really good new like bass house, deep house that whenever I do full sets like that, I never get kicked off of anything. So even within the record pools, there are a lot of artists that these record pools find that are not signed by major record labels. You know, so you don't need to just go to SoundCloud. You can also go to the record pools and do a little digging for an artist that maybe you don't recognize, that isn't very well known, but you know, they still have a very good sounds, and the sound quality is like excellent with the record pools. So that's another way to curate a set for IG Live. Like typically, if I am going to do an IG Live, it's going to be an EDM set with a bunch of like not popular EDM, because it's still really good. And people that are into EDM are more into like the musicality of it. And I feel like with top 40, people are into the familiarity of it. So, and same thing with like hip hop, they want to hear what they know. But when it comes to EDM, people don't really care about hearing what they know. They want to like feel something. So again, like I think you can do the same thing that they're suggesting maybe do on SoundCloud. You can do that through the record pools. You're going to have more success with house music though than with other stuff.
Okay, good to know. So this question is, well, it's for everyone, but more specifically Kristin and Keelez, because they're knee deep in the wedding market. Has the wedding market changed recently? Any changes, any updates? Have you gotten any inquiries for live streams? Are inquiries still coming in for 2021, 2022? What are your thoughts on that?
I can kind of kick us off a little bit and then throw it over to Keelez, but we definitely have seen some changes. I think that kind of the climate is starting to shift a little bit. Not as many postponements as we did see in the beginning, right? Because when this first started, it was really a bottlenecked kind of collection of, okay, we knew that as soon as we got the notification, we had to figure out how are we going to move 3 months of weddings to another portion of the year, whether it be at the end of this year or next year. And now now that we've gotten most of those clients taken care of, I think we only have 8 of them left. Thank goodness. We're kind of seeing that slow down a smidge. And now we're starting to see that really the only postponements that we are getting are really unique in the situation of, we're in Florida, so we do a lot of destination. And so if the couple that is planning a wedding, maybe their friends and family are from out of town, whether that be another country or another part of the US, they don't have a choice but to postpone, right? Or let's say they're on the front lines and they have, at this point, they're all hands on deck, so they can't take time off from their wedding. As far as booking goes, I actually took a look at the numbers earlier this week, and as far as the pace, we're down about 35%, which is not as nearly as much as I was like, I mean, guys, when we first started these lives, I was like, I mean, at this point, I might as well consider I have 0 bookings coming in, right? So the good news is we're only down about 35%, which is great. However, how we're taking care of those has completely changed. The conversations are way different. Our clients are smart because they're literally like all of us, they're asking questions like, how do I make sure that you're going to be around? Why should I give you my deposit? Why does the deposit have to be this much? They're reading our contracts. They're asking way more questions.
For the first time, they're reading their contracts. They're like,
for the very first time, they are reading their contracts.
That's going to protect me if there's another, world emergency.
Wave. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I'm having to explain things in the contract in a way that they understand, number one. Number two, that isn't scary to them. And number three, first of all, a contract is scary because an attorney wrote it up, right? And so I'm having to take that verbiage and now explain it, I want to say, in a marketing and PR type of way that isn't so like in your face or like scary, right? You know, I'll give you guys one example. Today we had a couple who was literally ready to sign the contract for their wedding in January. And she wrote back and she goes, I don't want to give you a deposit at all. And I want to make sure that it's refundable. And I'm like, I have to address this because if I don't, and I also have to stick up for us because there's kind of that battle, right? Of, in order for me to be here in January, I have to have a deposit now. And it cannot be refundable. And so now I feel like, as kind of like, you know, I'll call us the leaders in the industry, we have to educate them once again. I don't know if everyone remembers this, but when I first started my business, it was, I had to constantly educate the couples when I was on the phone with them. And I feel like now we're going back to that. And so now it comes down to, I've got to re-educate them and explain to them that when your deposit comes in, it is earned over a period of time, right? You've got your online planning system. I'm here answering your phone calls. I'm someone, and at least for us, you know, we're still running a full operation. I've got an office manager. I've got Jenny and Jesse who are in the office. So I'm having to explain what that deposit goes towards. And one of the things that we're trying to get creative with next, which I have a feeling a lot of people are going to start asking me, is we're going to come up with an official statement of, here's our promise. We promise that we're going to, and I don't know the exact verbiage yet, so don't hold me to it, but my thought process is we're going to be really bold in our statement. And it's going to be, we promise that we're going to be flexible. We promise we're going to be fair. We promise that, you know, we're going to stay up to date with the news. We promise that we're going to make decisions out of facts, not out of fear, right? You know, we promise that, you know, we're going to continue to live our manifesto of love, lead, excel, loving what we do. And then at the same time, we're going to throw it back on them. And we're going to say, and here's what we hope that you're going to promise back to us, that you're going to be fair and you're going to be flexible. And, you know, if it does come down to, we have to redo this whole thing all over in January, that we're going to work together. And so I think that we just have to get transparent with that piece of it, because it's, and kind of to wrap this up, it's no longer, or it's becoming that the postponements are slowing down, but we are going to have to address, what are we going to do for the bookings that are still coming, because they need our reassurance, right? And we're up against people who aren't going to be around. I'm going to take a wild guess, and I'd love to say 50%, but I would guarantee you that at least 30% of our competitors aren't going to be here 6 months from now. So we're going to have to explain to our clients, what are we doing now? And what are the decisions we're going to make sure that we're still here, to make sure that we can play for them.
Yeah, that's great. So BB, your thoughts on the wedding market right now and your experience with the wedding?
Yeah, it's everything that she said, for sure. Definitely. I mean, you definitely a matter of tightening up contracts and realizing how loose your contracts were previously when you have to deal with all of these postponements. But in California, at least, to be honest with you, I saw inquiries coming in and people booking, but most recently, now that there's no specific end date, I have seen a dramatic kind of like halt in that, because I think a lot of people got a little fearful of, oh my God, like, well, what's going to happen now? I even had somebody cancel one yesterday that was rescheduled for July. Like, I don't even want to deal with it. So they canceled. So I think that level of uncertainty is, at least in the Southern California market, adding a little bit of pause for people. But I did have people who booked weddings and people who are kind of gung ho and ready for it. But in terms of, you know, contracts and everything like that, I mean, definitely, you know, I tightened up my contracts. I made sure that I had to, you know, I had different stipulations for different things that happened, you know, make sure to take, you know, the blame off of myself for anything that was beyond my control, to make sure that, you know, instead of 30 days, you know, I only had a 30-day clause that I was really charging any penalty. And I'm like, that's not feasible, because 30 days is not enough for me to book a new event in a realistic world. So I increased it to 180 days. And then I, you know, changed whatever fee structure I had there to make sure that I'm still going to kind of be on top in terms of that. But definitely tighten that up. And I'm definitely working on my marketing and trying to figure out ways to navigate this world. So as you mentioned before, doing, elopement packages with people, trying to shift a little more into the virtual world there. And definitely, being honest with my clients and people who do want to book, and I do have a new clause in my thing that does mention pandemics and saying, hey, listen, if there's a pandemic, if it falls within the government mandates, I'm going to do everything I can to reschedule you without any penalty, but I made sure to put the term of within the government mandates because you never know what's going to happen. And if this boils down and September can still happen normally, I don't want to be in this case again to where that panic kind of comes in. So, anyway, it's an interesting beast that we're kind of tackling now.
Yeah, that's all really good advice. So this next one is actually very, very important for all of us, anybody in any live events industry. When we get back to the in-person events, what health and safety precautions are you going to take for yourself and your team when you get back to doing those in-person events?
Bro, can I just start off and say on the record that the day I am allowed to twerk, ain't nobody gonna keep me away from a stranger. Guys, I want to be so serious, but I'm I just want to go out with my girls and
oh no, I'm frozen.
I don't care if I'm twerking next to a stranger. Let's go. Miss Ninja, you posted the other day, I can't wait to go back to the world, but I don't want to wear heels, right? I just want to be in my athleisure and, traffic would be crazy. I miss the strangers.
Yeah, but you have your team.
Yes, I do.
Safety precautions for your team.
So
for me, I'm scared to pass a microphone off. I always have multiple microphones at the weddings, but for people to hold it and talk on it, and then I have to be a cleaning crew because then I have to clean it and then hand it back to everybody that's making some type of speech.
So on a serious note, you guys, because I do have a serious side and a fun side. We are currently working on our back to work kind of game plan. And from our side, we're still waiting to make sure that whatever regulations they release, we make sure we're ready to go. However, before those come out, we are doing things like we're ordering all the sanitizer that we can without going overboard, making sure that for the photo booth side of the business, we're kind of figuring out, okay, do we have, just a sanitary,
all those props.
Yes. So at this point, we haven't made the decision if we're even going to have props or not. I can't make that without knowing where we're at in the world. So I kind of have to wait a little bit, but I am prepared to say I'm not bringing the props because there's no way to control that. And I want to make sure that no matter what we decide to do, there is a balance of fun and safe. Right. So just some kind of ideas that we've been spinning around is some sort of sanitizer station next to our photo novelty things, whether that be, if I can't find an actual station, maybe I have a sanitizing attendant, and we kind of give kind of tribute, to the nightclubs, or you had the lady standing there and, she poured the thing and you clean your hands. We're doing things we already had individual alcohol wipes. We had 1,000 of them just to kind of clean our computers and things. But we're going to be doing that between people holding the microphone every single time. Masks. We're ordering custom RDJ Rocks masks right now. We're in the process of making those. And then those are just some kind of things off the top of my head. Again, when we have that final plan, I'd be happy to share. But we already know some things we're putting in place. And then at the end of the day, the government's going to tell us anything else we need to do,
Mm-hmm. How about you, Ninja?
I mean, I think my main concern is what you're saying, all of the items that you can hand off to other people. The microphone obviously is probably the biggest concern. So, I really think Kristin's onto something with having maybe a sanitization station, right next to the DJ booth, or even, I don't think it would look good next to the microphone because that's going to be in all of the wedding videos. So you want to think about positioning also, but maybe right next to the DJ booth, so that you can quickly do a quick wipe down before you hand it off to the next person. But also as a DJ, you need to protect yourself. So I don't necessarily want to take a microphone from someone else that's just held it. So I don't know. I haven't really figured this one out yet. Like, I think it might be best to have no more handheld mics and just do it on a actually do it on a boom or whatever it is, the mic stand. Like, make sure,
Oh,
yeah, only do a mic stand. That way, no one's touching it. Like, the less you
don't
can get
touch the
people to
mic.
touch. Yeah, don't touch the mic, which is great because a lot of people like to joke around like they're going to drop the mic anyway at the end of their like little speeches, and I get terrified every single time.
Oh, I've had some.
So this would solve two problems, which I'm totally down for. And then what you can do is probably run up real quick and like just spray, just, you know, sanitize the mic as you're introducing the next person, or wipe it down real quick and then introduce the next person.
You're already working, focusing on your job. It's just an added task, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a workaround for that. Not to cut you up, but I have a workaround for the microphone.
Bring it.
No, for sure. So I was thinking the exact same thing you guys were in terms of wiping down the microphone, of course, before and after everybody definitely usage of the stand. But they actually sell karaoke microphone covers that you can find on. I mean, they're kind of sold out. Eventually they'll go back, but they're karaoke microphone covers. You can get them in all different colors, but of course, black, red, yellow, whatever you want. But black would be, you know, of course, wedding appropriate. But what you could do is they come in like packs of 2, but you could actually individually hand them to each person giving a speech, so that when they give their speech, they can place it on and then remove it. And then you can just manually mute and unmute as they need. And that way they'll have their own coverage without you having to run and wipe it. What's up, Kristin?
I have a question, actually. Okay, so with microphones, should we be more concerned about them holding it with their hands in that piece, or are we more concerned with
droplets? All of it.
Yeah, both. All of it. Yeah, a little bit of both. So you can even hand gloves out if you wanted to take. If you didn't want to do a stand, you could even make, you know, I mean, for me, I usually prep my toasters beforehand. Because Because ever since I saw a guy do a toast, and instead of doing it like this, he held the microphone
here.
He held it like this with the head of it.
like,
I was like, what? And he did the whole speech. But anyway, ever since that, I feel like I have to kind of at least instruct them, like, no, it's actually like this, and don't eat it a little far, you know, that kind of thing. But
they don't listen though. Like, they'll start here and then it moves right to here.
So maybe
every time.
They will. Maybe if it's a life-threatening thing, you're like, listen to me when I tell you, switch it out. Maybe then they will. But you always have that option, I think, to hand it to them and say, hey, listen, if you want gloves, if you want to remove it, you can get black gloves, so it's still wedding appropriate, black covers, have them deal with it on their own, and they can dispose of it. That way it's only their germs touching it.
I am so not about droplets getting in my mic. I didn't even think about that, you guys.
That was my first thought.
Yeah, mine too.
I don't know why it just clicked right now, but I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just going to like grab a thing and I'm going to, you know, clean, you know, the top of it off. I'm going to clean, you know, the other piece of it. I'm going to stop the hand gestures right now. But yeah, we're definitely going to have the covers for that.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll just have everyone submit their speeches to us, and we'll just give everyone speeches.
Hey, or we can start
deliver everyone's speech.
Pre-record the speeches, and we just play them. And we're like, okay, so Susan in the back, this one's hers. Play. Please stand up, Susan. Spotlight on her. I mean, there's options.
I think we might be on something here. This is so creative.
Yeah. You guys, they're gonna get droplets in their microphone. I'm like totally live and totally not okay with this right now.
What if they do video speeches where they like record their own video beforehand and we play it on a projector? Like, that could be a good workaround, at least for the next year. And you know what, you guys, you don't see the person giving their speech.
Oh my God, you know what? And you could totally do that as an add-on. It doesn't even have to be part of the service.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bro, I'm taking notes right now. Okay, microphone.
Well, you can do it in 2 ways too. That could be an add-on in 2 ways. If you want a little, you could actually purchase the projector and sell that as an add-on, or you can refer a projector company and sell the add-on of them using your soundboard for that extra input. So for me, if they have a band or anything like that, that's usually an upgrade, because that's wear and tear on my system. Or sometimes, especially if it's a band, I have to bring a bigger mixer. Like my standard one I'm bringing doesn't work, so I have to bring like one that has 16 inputs. So usually there's costs associated with having to upgrade or having to accommodate. So you could say, hey, listen, I'm more than happy to do that. Just the charge for me, you know, dealing with that sound tech is XYZ. If you want to provide the projector, then you get to charge even more. But there's options both ways. You can talk to your local company that does projectors and work out a deal with them, so you get a share, or you maybe can get a kickback that way. I mean, there's definitely collaborative ways that you can totally make that happen.
And it's
Bro,
great because I see a
excited.
lot of like couples, they want to do projectors with like baby photos of both of, you know, the bride and the groom and things like that. So it just integrates really well with that. So now not are you only using it for that, you're using it for the speeches, which protects everybody. And once again, this is temporary. You can let your clients know, like maybe in about a year, once there's a vaccine or whatever, we can get back to normal speeches. But if you want to do your wedding right now and you want everyone to feel safe and comfortable, we can offer, you know, the projector so that you can do your speeches. And then we can do like maybe slideshow for you as well as an add-on.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this leads me into my next question, or I actually saw somebody post on Facebook. I'm part of a wedding vendors group that they're including some kind of surcharge for health and safety because of the extra expenses that we're going to have for buying the extra wipes and the extra sanitizers and doing the extra work. Is that something that you would consider charging a client for?
I would raise I personally raise my price for, I'm sorry, I keep hitting my mic because I forget it's here. So sorry guys, that's a DJ faux pas. If you hear it, I forget it's right here.
I didn't notice.
And I'm a hand talker. I'm Puerto Rican, so don't.
And you wouldn't have this problem if you just pre-recorded everything you were going to say.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's true.
Like they're going to have to do at the weddings now.
Yeah, it's so true. It's true. I'm dangerous when I'm at a restaurant when they allow you there. I've taken out a waiter once or twice on accident talking. Just but anyway, I lost my train of thought in terms of what we were talking about. But we were talking about you were talking about adding a charge on for what were we just talking about right now?
Or
safety
precautions, the cost.
Public safety. Yes, that's right. Thank you guys. Sorry, I got sidetracked thinking about taking out a waiter. But I personally for 2021 raised my prices a little bit for two reasons, because I am going to have to take additional safety precautions, which I've already had to get inventory of alcohol wipes, the microphone covers, triple wipe down things before I bring it on their computer screens, anything that somebody might touch, gloves for my assistant that's there to make sure that they have gloves when they deal with people, color coordinating masks because you got to look cute. You know what I mean? You can't, so that's, it's a whole thing. So it's definitely that, but I've raised my prices for that. And also because I'm going to make significantly less money with the postponements and having to eat a lot of the cost of these new weddings that they have to postpone. So given those two things, the only way that I will realistically be able to survive is if I did add, a little extra onto my fee. And I think the health and safety fee, it might be a way to sell that for sure. If your clients
or you just probably integrate it into your package.
Yeah, if you want to have a line item, sure. I mean, and I guess that's definitely a line item that you can use to justify a price increase. But I would definitely say that for 2021, everybody should consider increasing their prices. And also,
do you think we need to have a disclosure in our contracts also saying that if someone does get ill from mishandling of equipment, it's not our fault?
Put something in our contract.
Wait a minute. Are we literally going to be like, is this verbiage going to be like, if you get COVID, like not my fault? Or wait a minute, could this potentially, are we just covered under our hold harmless agreement?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say that it wouldn't hurt to add the verbiage of, that the DJ is not held responsible for anything, not held responsible for anything that might be, transmitted or something like that due to somebody handling equipment. I mean, there has to be verbiage like that. But in the COVID world, I think people are going to understand. I mean, you're going to have to put it in a not so terrifying way, but you're going to have to put it in a way that they're going to understand. And I always break it down with my clients. So if it's like I have verbiage in there that's super lawyered up, but I break it down for my clients and I say, listen, here, what this part says is your friend doesn't pour their beer on my stuff, they won't trip on my speaker stand. We cool? And I move on to the next part. And because it's the whole thing, but it makes sense. But I think definitely you should probably have something in there that states, I'm going to do everything in my power to clean all of my stuff. But if in the off chance somebody happens to transmit something, you're going to not hold it responsible. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because
I know what I'm going to do. So I told you guys I was in the process of redoing our contracts. I'm just going to literally ask my attorney because I know we have a hold harmless that says, and it's a broad enough to make sure we're protected. But I'm going to ask him if I need to have something specific to things like viruses or whatnot, just to make sure that we're protected, because it may or may not need to be specific. So maybe we should all do that. And I don't know if the rules are different for state or if that kind of covers us over the US, but drafting an email right now.
I mean,
Well,
the only reason I'm thinking about that is because if we're adding a surcharge for health and safety, then I don't want them to think we're taking on the burden of health and safety.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was just on a call with David Tutera. He was doing this thing Q&A, and one of the questions that was posed to him was about contracts, and he said, like, listen, when you're somebody like me and you're in the public eye and you have everything, he said my contract's like 23 pages long, and he's like, that's because every time something comes across my desk that I do, I throw it in there just for the sake of clarity. So even
You
if
already know.
whatever, and he says, I know it's tedious that they have to read the 23 pages, but he says, at least I know that I'm covered. And with that being said, I'm like, bet I'm only 2 pages in, so I got room to grow on that contract. So it is what it is. But I think to hold yourself safe, it's better safe than sorry, because you never know. And just like now, we never knew this pandemic was coming, and then the postponement hit us, and I never knew how poor my contract was until I was stuck here, like, okay, well, what do I do now? So I think that's definitely, I think better safe than sorry all across the board for that.
Yeah.
Agreed. Drafting the email now.
Okay, so we'll move on to our final topic of the conversation. Looks like we're going to be extended for a while, staying at home, and that's really detrimental to a lot of people's mental health, because we all just want to get out there and see our friends and family and give them a hug. What kind of advice would you give to our audience, friends and family, about self-care for the next, until we can see everybody again in person, our loved ones?
I mean, can we start by like all the positive things? Figure out a way to stay positive, figure out a way to lead with gratitude, have dance parties when you can. I mean, at this point, I just can't wait to DJ in person, because I feed off of the energy. But if I have to do Zoom parties, let's go, and figure out a way to kind of change your routine. I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I've kind of had to change my daily habits to start with. For me, I get fueled by music. So I start with music. I usually end the day with music, and figure out whatever, if you can create a little sanctuary space in your home. You know what I mean? For us, I have a couple of different places. There's a spot even in my studio where I can kind of step away. Our front porch has kind of been that for us. Even in my bathroom, I have like a jacuzzi spa, so we've got music going in there. So if I've got to do like bubble bath time, I do that. So just kind of find what are your areas that you can create in your home that can almost be your little escape. And then of course, infuse positivity and gratitude wherever you can.
How about you?
Lord knows I needed that this week. This week was probably one of the roughest for me. So
I'm sorry. Virtual hugs.
Yeah, group hug.
Virtual hugs.
We should do more of that.
Yes.
More virtual hugs. I don't know. Like I feel like I'm faring extremely well through all of this, because I mean, I've been wanting a break from all of the running around for so long. And, I just feel like if we can remember that this is temporary and that there are positives, it really is a mental training thing. Like you can choose to find the negative aspects and the things that you've lost, or you can choose to think about, maybe what benefit this might be to you. I'm sure all of us have a laundry list of things that we're like, I wish I had more time to work on this. I wish I had more time for this. I wish I had more time to just sit around and be silent and maybe meditate, and all these things we've been putting on the back burner for however many years, since we started this, roller coaster of capitalism. Right now we have an unheard of break where, I realize like some people, I don't want to like diminish the severity of the situation, and realizing that there are people that are suffering right now. There are people that are in horrible financial situations, medical situations. But that's a conflict that someone brought up with me. They're like, how am I supposed to feel good about this when other people are suffering? And my question back was, is your self imposed suffering making it better for them? And it's not. So all you can do is, if you are in a situation where you maybe have a few more blessings than someone else, be grateful for them. You know, be grateful that you have a roof over your head right now, that you are in a comfortable place. A lot of people don't have that, that hopefully you're isolated with someone that you get along with. Some people don't have that. If you have hobbies that you've been wanting to work on, that you actually have the health right now to work on those things. I think it's less about what we're filling our time with and more about what we're filling our minds with.
Agreed.
So if you can use this time to reprogram yourself into a state of gratitude, to always look for the positive, not only is that going to help you now, but it's going to help you when you come out of this. And my genuine hope for all of us when we get through this is that we come out of this kinder and hopefully a whole lot more grateful for what we do have. So that's, I don't want to, you know, give a bunch of advice on things you could be doing for your mental health. Mental health has to be done. The work has to be done within you. You know, it can't be done via distraction. You have to sit with yourself and address certain things. Like if I'm sad, why am I sad? If I'm lonely, where is that loneliness coming from? Because it's not something that's coming from outside of you. It's coming from within you. And right now you do have the space to work on those things. So coming out of this, you're in a better emotional space. So, yeah.
Keelez,
Yeah, no, I
we know how to take care of ourselves.
yeah, no, that was great. I mean, definitely everything that she said, but you know, to kind of piggyback off of that, definitely I would also say to that, you know, not everybody is in a different mental place when it comes to this quarantine. There are some people who at the very beginning really got hit hard with the depression. What am I going to do? And then eventually got out and now are able to pivot and they look like they're just doing phenomenal. Then I have a friend who I just spoke to on Monday and she was in tears on the Zoom call. And she's like, it literally just hit me what's going on. And in that moment, I realized, I said, wow, not everybody is at the same place. So what I would say is it's okay if you aren't where you see on social media that other people are, because there's going to be people who are able to get by. There's going to be people who are able to book jobs and who have parents that have money and they might not even, you don't even know what they have. You know what I mean? There's people that could have had savings that don't have savings. There could be people that are broke and just not showing it. But wherever you are, I think it's okay to be in that place. But just don't stay in it for long. You know, if you find yourself feeling bummed out or like you're not doing enough, you know, it's okay to sit in it for a day, but that next day, wake up motivated and ready to do something different and do it at your own pace. And, you know, if it's not live streaming, take the steps so that you know how to live stream. So when you're ready, you can do that. You know what I mean? If it's like, hey, you know, I've always wanted to scratch, take the steps to learn how to scratch. If it's, you know, you're not so clean on beat matching, just take that day to do it and just slow baby steps. But I feel like it's a very important time to be to take a full body check and see how you're feeling, deal with your emotions and say, hey, it's okay to feel whatever type of way, but just don't live in it, move on. And just like,
and ask for help if you need help. Like if one thing this has done is it's brought us all together and made us all a bit more empathetic. So I think together is really the only way that we're going to be able to really get through this without going completely crazy.
Yeah. And exactly, said, reach out. And if you see a DJ on there doing something cool, just like you said, Ninja, I think this is the day and age that you should feel fine to reach out and not feel competition because nobody has work. So reach out and
we're also collaborative.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Exactly.
And I know that I'm going to take that onto the other side, you know, when we get back to normal and keep these friendships that I've developed, you know? Oh, well, I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to add too is, you know, just like you were saying, everyone is kind of taking this a little bit differently. But one thing to kind of keep in mind is that, like, you don't have to compare yourself to someone else. And I think that is probably the most important thing right now, because it is okay to process whatever you are going through and whatever kind of season you're in or whatever side of this you're in. I know I have a lot of friends who have really young kids and I know they're taking that differently. So if you are not super productive and you are not going live, know that you don't have to, right? And you don't have to compare yourself to what anyone else is doing. Take this however you're taking it. Do whatever you need to do I always say this, you do you, boo, and that's okay right now. You don't have to compare yourself to someone else.
That's the hashtag for this.
Yes. Yeah. I'm also going to say that on this so that I can remind myself later and watch back that I don't have to compare myself to other people either. I could do me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I also just want to say again, I just want to really drive home the point that like what everyone's saying, we're all experiencing this in different ways. You know, there's no way that you could compare yourself or your experience to what anyone else is going through. It's a very like individual thing. So right now, absolutely, like if you can start detaching from the sense of like comparing yourself to other people, and you can just really look within yourself and like practice kindness to yourself, that's a really good starting point. Whatever you're going through right now, just honor that, be kind with yourself, and don't, you know, again, like just don't be scared to like reach out. There are people that actually do care about all of you, whether we know each other or not. You know, we're all going through a very emotional situation. And I think that just kind of lends to us being a little bit more willing to connect with people that maybe we didn't know before. And like Tessa's saying, I've made so many friendships through this.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a great opportunity to connect with people on a very like honest, deeper level than maybe we were accustomed to before. And I think that will also, you know, I think a lot of the reason people do get depressed is because we've had this society where we're so busy all the time and no one feels connected. And right now we do have an opportunity to connect. So again, don't be afraid to reach out to any of us. We don't fight.
Over here.
We need someone to talk to.
I know. I know.
It's the other way. Yeah, here we go. There you go.
Right there. Tessa, other side.
Yeah, it's reverse the right one, guys.
There's Tessa's.
Oh,
What are we doing?
I have to like flip my brain around. I'm trying to get it there. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it. QSC, thank you so much for having us for this DJ discussion. And everybody stay safe out there. We're all in this together, like you guys said. All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Bye, guys.